Michelle. It's great to see you again. I'd love to get to know about you a bit more. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with you, but I'd like to introduce you to our supporters. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Montreal. I'm the daughter of two naval veterans. My mother was one of the first Wrens. My dad was a naval communicator on a ship. And anyways, they actually both grew up in St. John, New Brunswick, and then met in Montreal. And therefore, the family was created in Montreal. And I actually grew up in Brossard, and that's a suburb of Montreal, and continued on with my education to McGill. And I took a Bachelor of Commerce, and I concentrated in accounting, marketing, and I loved mathematics. And after that, I actually went into the dental field. And one of the things I really enjoyed was medicine and dentistry. And so after graduating, I actually became a dental implant consultant across Canada. And there was four of us at the time. And so we went from coast to coast, and we were educating oral surgeons and dental specialists on the actual treatment for implantology. And so I worked in Montreal, went out to Vancouver, where I stayed for about 6 years, and then went to Toronto after that. And now I live in Halifax. So I've lived all across Canada, and every province is different. And that's why I appreciate Canada so much. I love Canada. That's also why I've decided to run in the last two elections. What's happening now with our government, it doesn't serve the people. It serves another power and another agenda. And so I thought, if my parents could serve our country with limited education and limited means, then I could serve my country with education, experience, and with the understanding of what what Canada is about. And so I have three children myself, and they're all, well, sometimes they get embarrassed because of what I do, right? Oh, Mom, don't talk about politics too much. But I'm very proud of them. I have a 19-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 24-year-old. And they're very independent. And, we support each other. And so they support me, obviously, when I said that I was going to run. And one of them actually came to one of the rallies and met Max, and realized how important the movement was of the People's Party of Canada.
So, Michelle, you're now, I mean, you always have been, but more so going forward, you're going to be a massive voice for Atlantic Canada
Yes.
in the leadership of the party. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on what you think Atlantic Canadians are looking for in their federal government.
Well, I know from speaking with many, even some of the PPC candidates in Newfoundland and New Brunswick, we're looking for more independence in terms of people, right? As Canadians, we want to make decisions ourselves. We're looking for smaller government, and that's what the People's Party is talking about in their policies. And letting people decide for themselves how they want to live their lives, basically, right? And we do know that Atlantic Canada has been ignored for many, many years now by the federal government because of the small population. However, we do have oil, and we do have natural gas, liquid natural gas. And we also have uranium in Nova Scotia. And we have large Bay of Fundy tides. We always think, well, could we do something with that in terms of hydro power, right? So we have the opportunity in these areas in Atlantic Canada to actually take advantage of our natural resources as well, and maybe stop living off of the transfer payments so much and relying on those, right? And I know Max talks about, taking the GST and giving it back to the provinces, but wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually lower our income tax because we're actually growing the natural resource industry, the energy industry within Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, our equalization program or platform promise to reform it has always been kind of controversial whenever Max has gone out east because of those transfer payments.
Yes.
But the logic around it is to encourage the development of
Well,
these natural resources.
exactly. And his whole idea was to create industry within those provinces. But if we're always relying on the federal government, we can tend to be more complacent at taking that challenge on, right, and developing for ourselves. So I really believe that, with PPC seats in the House of Commons, we can help push, our country to be more independent, and we can actually be more energy independent. And we have rare earth minerals in our country, and now they're being taken and processed in in China and other places in Europe. And imagine if we could take advantage of that industry of mining the lithium, mining the products that are needed to run green energy. If we could do that, we'd be a powerhouse as a country. And we have those rare earth minerals that can take us into the next generation of sustainable energy, sustainable green energy, right? So electric cars now, people are talking about electric cars. And I know, we don't, the PPC doesn't always think about the climate catastrophe. We know climate is always changing, right? And it always has. But we know that the people of Canada also want clean energy. So we have the means of doing that right here in our own country. And we have the means of keeping everyone prosperous as well. So imagine we have the means for clean energy, we have the means for energy autonomy in Canada, and we have the means then to be a wealthy nation, prosperous nation, help other nations if we need to, but also reduce the income tax and reduce the problems that we're seeing right now. Look at the inflation rate in Nova Scotia. Well, I know our Prime Minister said it could go up to 9%.
Yeah.
We have people struggling right now in Nova Scotia finding housing. I know families, young families, living with their parents. And because we have no housing for them. There are people that, the housing prices have gone up exponentially. A $795 room is now up to $1,500 in some places. And but our wages aren't increasing at the same rate. So, we have to look at what are the problems in terms of the demand for the housing and the supply, and maybe some of the bureaucracy can be removed as well in terms of developing housing for people. But we really need to look at the independence of our nation and how can we prosper and what are the things that we can do. Challenge ourselves, obviously, create that industry, take advantage of the plentiful resource industry that we have in Canada.
Now you've run two campaigns for us, Michelle.
Yes.
2019 and 2021, both in your home riding of Dartmouth Coal Harbour. I'd love to hear a bit about your experiences over two campaigns. You demonstrated one of the largest growth between the last two elections, getting over.
Yeah, I can't remember what the first one was. What is it? Maybe 1.6 to 2%, and the last one was 10.4. And it's persistence, it's consistency, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of running on the ground, just running on the ground and going door to door, talking to people, and being in the debates and believing in the platform, believing in the party. We're a grassroots party. We're for the people. The people in Canada have the power to elect their government. And right now, there are many people whose voice isn't represented in the House of Commons. So when I think about the People's Party of Canada, it is a populist party. And I was drawing from not just, say, the conservative side of the political spectrum, but also from Liberals and NDPs who found that their parties no longer represented them. So going door to door. The first time they were getting to know the party. Then the second time in 2021, it wasn't just, talking about our policies. It was almost a referendum now for freedom. And a lot of people talked to me about that and said, Michelle, we really have to look at what's happening with our freedoms, with our Charter of Rights, and our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And a lot of Canadians felt that their rights had been attacked and were being degraded.
Just to wrap things up, I'm wondering if you have a message that you want to bring to PPC supporters across the country that I'm sure are happy to meet you for the first time.
A message, that if you really believe in Canadian, the fundamental values of Canada, that's what the People's Party is fighting for. We're fighting for your voice as a people to elect your government and to voice your needs, your wants to your government. And the People's Party will listen to you, right? Some of the bigger parties now, we've seen the Liberals and the NDPs and even the Conservatives, now they seem to not represent the people as much anymore. They seem to be more into this larger globalist agenda. And look, I at the beginning, when I first started running with Maxime Bernier in 2019, when we started talking about the globalist agenda and the World Economic Forum, I almost thought it could be conspiracy theories and that, right? And then I started hearing more about this. And then once COVID hit, then you started to see the wheels turn. And we started to see almost another level of influence on our MPs and an influence from an outside institute like the WEF. And so we need to have a parliament or MPs and House of Commons who are going to work for the concerns of the people and be accountable and responsible to those concerns. And that's what the People's Party is going to do. And I am the new lieutenant for... Sorry.
It was good. It was very good. It was very good.